don't go changing to try and please me. You never let me down before. I'll take the good times, I'll take the bad times. I'll take you just the way you are.
We're still off air. No, we're live. Reindeer. Oh, hello.
Hi, didn't see you there, Internet.
Hey.
Happy holiday.
Oh, gosh.
Speaking of, did you see the Bill Murray Christmas special, A Very Murray Christmas? We watched it with Aaron recently.
No.
Oh, it's good.
You'll enjoy it.
It's
It's right up
good.
your alley.
Oh, my gosh.
I think you might need my Netflix to do it, but I thought you already had it. But we established last week that you don't.
Wait, I do. Okay, I remember them. They announced this last year that they were filming this for broadcast this year. Like it was, okay. I remember hearing about it, but yes, I haven't seen it.
It's
Oh,
great.
it's
I'm excited
wonderful.
now.
Highly recommended.
Yeah.
Also, something last week that didn't exist this week is Star Wars. Hence, I'm wearing my 3D glasses.
Do you,
Did you
why
guys-
don't you tell them about
30
our
seconds.
experience?
Oh, yeah. We got fancy VIP tickets, and we never have had those before. It's one of those, it's a Regal, and it's one of those, you go and you sit, and there's no one under 21 or 18 or something that are allowed. They
Yeah.
card you at the door.
Because there's
And-
a full service bar and like
and then recliners, and people come around and take your order.
Huh. I like
It's
those
nuts.
places. Yeah.
It was great. It was great. We'd never been.
Cool.
and it's just like $3 more from like a regular ticket, which I was like, what?
Well, that's what I liked. They have one of those places like here, that downtown Charlotte, called the Studio Grill, same setup. And in the summer, they already give discounts for matinees, but it is ridiculously cheap if you go before noon on Saturday and Sunday. So I'd pay like $4 or $5 for a ticket, and then so then I'd splurge and buy like a bourbon milkshake or fries with poutine or something. Yeah,
Neat.
yeah.
If you are chatting, we have turned on the Q&A feature
Hi, Scott.
on the Hangout, which I don't know. I don't think he's actually here yet, according to our stuff. I will text our
I know he's there.
our friend.
He probably
He's
just
always
can't
there
get
in
a-
spirit.
Right?
He is. So yeah, if you're wondering, as I do sometimes, how to get to the show every week for the live broadcast, the easiest way is to just go to assembler.fm/live. And while you're there, you'll see always whatever the next live episode is, as well as some links to stuff from Amazon that we've talked about on the show. Because if you even if you don't buy anything using those links, if you just go and click on the links, it helps Amazon see us as a valid thing, which lets us keep putting links up. Which means that one day when
avenue.
someone buys those, a gross of Ninja blenders, we'll get that sweet commission.
I love my Ninja blender.
It's wonderful. I got one last Christmas from my brother.
It's the
Love
best.
it.
Yes. Please keep suggesting other high cost items I can put into our show notes.
Yeah. I mean, you can blend anything.
You can blend your soul.
And they always stay sharp.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because my force awakened this week with my meditation challenge. I thought that was well timed, actually.
It's interesting. It's always interesting the way things. I don't know the way the universe kind of presents things. Like I feel like for any time we've ever had a challenge on the podcast, whether it's a personal sort of apropos challenge or whether it somehow fits into some larger zeitgeist sort of thing, we have our finger on the pulse of the universe.
That's right. Oh, I should probably turn my McDonald's dumpster back to the
Open the lid.
The lids that don't do anything.
Rabble. Yeah, so I did look it up and I sent you guys an article.
Yeah.
I need to get sound like actual acoustic foam, because what I'm not able to dampen in there with what we've got now are the low tones.
Yeah.
But who cares?
Fortunately,
Whatever.
you talk like this.
That's right. Hello.
Yeah. That's That's what Jeff sounds like before he mixes his voice down for each
boy.
week. Yeah. Woo.
That's right. Edited. I mean, unedited. Edited. Unedited. Edited. Anyone have any life updates before we start talking about some stuff, or did you cover all that in the pre-roll?
Oh,
Only
I
a
talked
little
about
bit.
my balcony moment. We talked politics for a second.
Yeah.
Oh, my.
Surprise.
Surprise! Yes. Mm.
Yeah. I guess the only other thing is, we're gearing up for Christmas vacations and stuff are coming up. And
Yes.
so we've got programming at the theater, which we have these things called mini camps, which is a day-long experience where we have them anytime that the school system is out on holiday or out on break. And so you can sign up day by day, or you can sign up for the full 2 weeks. And so I am right now lost in the world of creating lesson plans because that's part of my job. And so
Yeah.
trying to make 2 weeks of experience, make each day unique, and try to make, we've ordered enough crafts. I finally have capitulated, I guess. That's not the word. Surrendered. That's what I mean. I've surrendered to the idea of embracing Oriental Trading Company and all their little craft kits that they do.
Yes.
Because there is no way.
Only a vaguely racist name.
It's true. I think about that every once in a while when we order, and it's based out of San Francisco because, again, that's the big port where all of the trade and stuff comes from Asia. Like, it goes through these
Right.
ports in San Diego and San Francisco, but whatever. But I for the first couple of months, I could not let myself order these kits because I was like, I'm failing as a teacher if I'm defaulting to this, if I'm not coming up with it myself. And I finally just had to go, there's no way. There's no freaking
That's
way.
like
Yeah.
teachers. That's because my mom, who's a teacher, used to get one of those catalogs all the time because you just, as an educator, you don't always have time to
Yeah.
plan all the things you want to do, and it's a good little
Yeah.
business.
But the balance of that is we ordered all of these kits on their Black Friday sale when shipping was free. So we
Ooh.
ordered everything we needed for this 2 weeks, as well as everything that we know we're going to need for the summer as well. So we saved like hundreds and hundreds of
Nice.
dollars in shipping costs by ordering it in this bulk thing. So that's how I was able to
Justify
say it
it?
was a good thing. Yeah. I saved us money.
Looks like either Scott or listener 5584 has arrived in the chat room. We will find out who it is. The Q&A segment is turned on should anyone want to use it.
Cool.
Go on. Anything else happening in lives?
Oh,
Stick
we're
to
going
your
to Six
knitting.
Flags today, and Jeffrey's really grumpy about it.
I don't want to go to Six Flags.
Why do you not want to go? Is it the crowd thing? What?
I don't. It's cold and I don't like roller coasters.
Oh, okay. Is it really that cold there? I mean, it's
It's
chilly
not
here.
by Russian standards,
Sure.
which our friend is Russian, so.
Oh, there you go.
No, yeah, it's I told Sarah I've tried it, I've done them, so I know what that particular broccoli tastes like, and I don't like those vegetables. I just
Even though broccoli's
yeah,
good for you and high in folic acid.
well, probably, but
And
I'm
iron.
honestly this sounds so whatever, but I'm probably going to be bored. Which is interesting because I think it relates directly to the challenge of the week. But I think
Hooray.
I am one of those guys that is going to go to an amusement park and be bored. And some of it's my own fault because I don't like roller coasters. But on the other hand, I don't like roller coasters. So I'm really just going to hang out with the people and to have a good time with the people. And when everyone's on a ride, I'm just going to chill the fuck out, I guess.
Sure. Go watch one of their holiday shows.
Oh, God, they do shows there? I don't
Yeah.
even know what Six Flags does anymore.
They always do most theme parks have those 20-minute long they'll do a medley of Christmas stuff, and it'll be like a 1950s Christmas or a country and western Christmas.
So you're saying I should bring
whatever.
ice picks, one for each eye.
Yes.
And I should just be ready.
Just take notes. Pretend that you're the director of the show and take
I
notes.
do that in life,
Do that. I know you do. I know.
which probably also directly relates to the challenge.
But yeah,
Yep.
why can't you just enjoy the present moment and just not think that
Interesting,
it's gonna
Sarah.
be,
We should examine that today.
No,
On
but that you're
But-
already endgaming that saying you're gonna be bored, but that's you're choosing that.
All right.
You don't
So this,
have to
all right.
choose.
So obviously, this is a great springboard into last week's challenge. So Jeff,
Yeah.
do you want to talk about what the challenge was? I made
I
the
do,
challenge to
and
do.
I would also like to find out maybe what the impetus was behind you issuing it.
Okay.
I mean, I have some idea, but not everyone knows us. So, I was challenged this week to let's see if I remember it correctly, because I know how I executed it versus maybe what you said, and they might be different.
Okay.
You gave me 2 pieces of meditation audio. One was about 3 minutes, and one was like 30 minutes. And I think the goal was you wanted me to do the introduction one to learn it, and then to do the daily body scan, which was the shorter one every day. Was that about right?
It was reversed. The body scan was the longer
oops.
one, which you
Oh,
do
okay.
every day. Yeah. And then the short one
Yeah.
was kind of the nutshell summary of the program, I guess.
Well, I screwed that up.
Okay.
But we'll get into specifics of how in a second. But I'm curious. Why was this challenge issued? Is it just something that you've wanted to do, that you've tried? Is it something that you think particularly is good for me?
It was a little bit of both. It was it's something that I had done in the past, and I think was successful for me. It was kind of floating around in my brain because it felt like something I was thinking about starting up again. So it was already kind of bubbling there, just knowing the way you operate and approach things, the two ideas kind of bumped into each other, and I said this would be an interesting one to see what Jeff does with it.
Okay, well, here's what I did with it.
Okay.
But when I first got the challenge, I think I sent you a text saying something like I had already
Yes.
horrendously failed, and I can't even remember why, except for the fact that I think I was really preoccupied with I don't know. It was a really busy week. There was just a lot of things.
Yeah, you went to South Carolina.
Yeah, and back within 2 days of each other, which was cool. I went there for a shoot, and that was a lot of fun, and I had a good time. But it was in the middle of there was a shoot. This was not Zach? The
Yes, it was.
people I can't talk about was last week, right?
Yes.
The commercial thing I can't talk about was last week.
Yes, even though you just kind of let the name slip. But yes.
Well, whatever.
Yes. So you had a
That's an-
callback, and that was stressful, and they wanted you, but they didn't want you, and there was a lot of politics employed. Like the director wanted Jeff, but the higher ups weren't sure that Jeff could be clean cut enough. And
Corporate
so
did
then,
not like.
So he
my
was
look.
on first refusal, which means pretty much you have, in the acting world, for those of you who don't know, means that you are the first that can refuse the role. So like it's between like you and like 2 other people, and if they offer the role, you have the ability to refuse. Why it's not, I don't know why it's called first refusal, but there it is. So he was on first refusal, and then the day of, he was supposed to find out. They're like, we want you, but the producers don't know, so now you have to come meet with the producers. But we're willing to pay you to come meet with the producers because this is like another audition callback, even though we know you're on first refusal and you're having to jump through your ass. So then we just spent the whole day like getting Jeff clean cut, doing laundry. I ironed a whole bunch of stuff, and like
It was pretty crazy because it
Yeah.
also means that I ended up missing like practically a week of work going back and forth between the auditions and the callbacks, and it was one of those rare times of like go. And I know I tend to keep my schedule kind of full, but this was different. This was just no, the one thing to the next. There is no time. Like there's
Right.
literally no time to do anything else, and not in that I'm so busy way, but it's like nope, you got to be here at this hour, you got to be here at this hour, and like
Right.
different places all across town with totally different expectations, with totally different groups of people, and balancing that. If I did book this thing, they were asking if I could like shave my beard and cut my hair, but I already had a booking in South Carolina on Friday that required me to have long hair and a beard, and I'm like, I can't do that. And these people Friday had booked me first, so whatever. And I'd already done a commercial actually for this other company before, with my hair looking just like this for the same product. So I was like, what is going on in my life? Whatever. Anyway, the point to say is that I initially had a hard time making the time for it, right? And I did eventually do the 3-minute one because I was like, well, I've got to try something. So early in the week, I did the 3-minute thing because I was like, I like to kind of wade into things a little bit. And that was interesting because I got a chance to kind of listen and see what was up, and I kind of just did that in bed because like this is the time I have, so I'm going to do it now, and that was good. I wasn't ready to take the 30-minute plunge yet because I was kind of looking at the week ahead and my calendar and all that kind of stuff. And funny thing I noticed, speaking of being in the present, about my calendar is that I have a bunch of different ones, and one of them is called Life, and I think of it as my primary calendar, and I realize that like it's empty. Like the blocks there are, if it's not an appointment to go here, there, the other, like the blocks of calendar that say Life are empty, so I'm sort of like, oh, I guess those empty spaces are my life. And I should actually move towards making more of them.
Yeah.
You know, because I tend to use my calendar after the fact as kind of journaling, like what happened, because my memory's kind of crappy. Anyway, but I was having a lot of trouble this week sort of being, like Sarah said, relaxed in the present and doing normal things. One of the things we talked about is I've always had problems just watching TV, which is funny because I know last week we did the TV challenge. But Sarah and I had a discussion, and I remember saying, like, you don't understand. I feel like when I sit and watch TV, I am literally pissing my life away, which is funny because I want to do TV, but that's an active thing where I'm creating something.
Right. Yeah.
But if I sit and watch TV for more than an hour and I'm not doing something else alongside it, then I feel like I feel like a waste. And the only time I don't feel like that is after I've done something worthy during the day. So when I sit down and I watch TV, I've earned it. So maybe that's a screw loose in my head. I don't know if anyone else feels that way.
No, I think, I don't know, because I think my identity or relationship to TV is TV and movies, and I guess that screen has always been an escape.
Yeah.
And, growing up, I didn't sleep a lot because of, various things going on in my life and struggling with depression. So I remember very clearly my mom would go to bed and I'd be tossing and turning in my bed. And at some point I would just go out to the living room and I'd watch TV like until I passed out. Most nights she would find me asleep in the chair when she got up in the mornings, or sometimes I've had the wherewithal to head back and get into my own bed. So, and I still notice that I tend to treat TV like that. It's a way to, I don't necessarily treat it as I don't treat it, I guess, like a reward system. Like I don't have to put in a certain amount to watch a certain amount, but it's just, I know that it's a way for me, it's an escape.
It's how you can shut your brain off, especially because we all have very active minds, but like Adam and I struggle with depression and I have PTSD issues, and like for me the television is one moment where this can become quiet and I don't have to think any more than I already am, and it's like it lets me just sort of be still. And I rarely have those moments when I am just still, because even if I'm not doing anything, this is still going a mile a minute, and so it's I can watch like 3 1-hour episodes and not feel like I've pissed my life away because I feel like I'm doing something for here.
Yeah.
As opposed to
but my mind is going all the time as well, and I don't. And maybe it's just a wiring difference, but I don't have that need to escape. I just don't have that need to escape, like at least not in that way. I noticed this during the body scan. Like
you always talk about.
Well, but hang on. Like I noticed this during the body scan thing when I finally did do it. That, which I'll talk about in a minute. But I don't have a lot that I want to run from. Like I like my existence. Like I like. Baseline, I realized coming out of this, I realized like I do like me and I do like what I do and I do like the things that I'm pursuing, because I think whatever period I had where I maybe needed to escape or whatever, I think it was in an earlier period in my life, because now I feel like the things that I'm doing are worthy things to do, and all I really ever want to do is get back to them, because I'm constantly running up that I feel like I have a finite amount of time, and so whenever I go to escape, quote unquote, it needs to be something that's super immersive, and TV is not always immersive enough for me to get that feeling of escape, whereas maybe sometimes like an online game sometimes does, but that again only holds me for like an hour at the most.
Yeah.
And
And
yeah, go ahead.
and I think and that may be part of the reason why mindfulness sort of training is so appealing to me, because I would say my natural impulse is to not engage. And the whole point of mindfulness training is to engage, whether it's a pleasurable experience or something that's stressing you out, or
Okay, and that was
yeah.
that was a big problem. Sarah, I want to come
Yeah.
back to what you have to say real quick, and before we do, I just want to let you know that we've got 2 questions coming in from Scott, and we'll get to them in just a second. But
Yeah.
Sarah, you had something you wanted to say that was, I think, an observation about me and escaping.
Yeah, well, you always talk about how you always want to find moments of quiet and moments to slow down and moments to just be, because you stress yourself out. And I think you're also using escape that we're trying to run from something, and it's, for me, it's not I have to run from anything, because I enjoy my life and I enjoy what I'm doing. But because I'm a very emotional person and because I'm an overthinker, it's just a time, it's like some me time. It's like why people like do yoga and go running and do that. It's just sort of a moment where whatever's happening, I don't have to deal with in the moment. Like, I'm still going to, and I'm gonna whatever, but it's just sort of like I can just be here and not have to worry.
Yeah.
But I've observed
yeah.
with you though that like when things are stressed and when things are whatever, you just talk about you just want to have like time to yourself and time to be quiet. And not that it has to be TV, but you're a workaholic. We've talked about this. You always want to work. And sometimes when you do that, you inadvertently shut yourself off from people because you get so focused in your work, and that's fine. But if you talk about you only have a finite amount of time, you have to find the balance, because if you spend all your time working and just doing things on your own little planet, then you're missing everything else that's going on.
I actually
around
think
you.
I pretty intentionally shut myself off from people, which is a thing that I learned during the course of this week. It's a thing I do on purpose because I really like being alone, which usually offends people when I say it, but it's a thing I've learned about myself. Like, I am very comfortable in my own company, and I not only don't mind being alone for, reasonable limited amounts of, I wouldn't want to spend my life alone, but like I actually really it's something that I look forward to and that I treasure, it's a time where there's no expectations on me, and outside expectations are usually the thing that stress me out the most.
Right.
Real quick, I do want to get to these questions real quick. Scott, who is a writer, he has 2 things. He says, in your case, is not watching TV like me not reading, and he followed up with, don't we both need to do it in order to see how other people in the craft are doing things? I guess there's kind of 2 parts to it. So maybe if the equation I can make is I don't want to watch TV because you know how the sausage is made and it's like work in that way. But do we need to do it to see how other people in our field are doing things? Well, I've already got I work on sets. Like, I know how we do things. Like, there's nothing much more to learn there except when you go into maybe new movies or new shows that you've never seen to see how people are telling the story. But when you're when you're watching reality shows or things like that, once you've got the genre, you get it. And for me, at least, there's not a lot of like technical engagement. Speaking of, Adam, you said just a second ago something about engagement versus checking out, and I think that's something I really connected with.
Yeah. For me, and I think that was the thing that took me the longest time to get, I guess, conceptually about what this methodology or philosophy is. Because I don't think I really came to understand it until I was in Lexington for that 5-year period, and I was going to it was called the Harrison or the Davidson. Harrison. It was the Harrison Center, and it was basically it was the graduate training site. It was a counseling center staffed by graduate students within the University of Kentucky's upper level, psych degrees and stuff like that. So it was basically a hands-on way for them to work with people. And I basically paid $10 per session. It's a great service that they offer. But it was interesting when you sent that text to me, Jeff, about how you felt you had failed. Within, I think, hours of me issuing the challenge, because that's what I clearly remember in, my God, like the first 3 or 6 months of working with the person I was working with is, there's all these other exercises and things about, bringing mindfulness to, they call it the raisin exercise, where you take a raisin and you examine the texture, the smell. There's like all of these steps before you even pop it in your mouth. And then that becomes another level of engagement of how does it taste? How does it feel on your tongue? It's the idea of, being fully present in every moment. And I think what I had such trouble with in the beginning was feeling like I had failed. Feeling like I wasn't doing it right. Like there was, we think of meditation as a way to really, to work towards being relaxed, right? It's a way for stress to go away. It's a way for us to let go of all these things that we kind of carry around. And mindfulness training isn't exactly that. That may be one byproduct of it, but really at its heart, it's about engaging in whatever is happening right now. Whether it is, I'm surrounded by friends and family, and so I should be reveling in this party that's going on around me right now and enjoy the time that I've got with these people. Or it could be you're sitting home by yourself, and on the walk home, you start to get this like anxious feeling in your stomach, or you start to get sad because you're remembering something that was unpleasant from 10 years ago. And mindfulness training, I guess, teaches you to kind of lean in to those moments, as opposed to watching TV and escaping. Like I know that's something I do, right? And so if you lean into whatever emotional state, I guess, that you're in at that moment is, if you can start to identify what's going on physically or what the triggers are, then you can appropriately deal with it and then move on from that moment. Not necessarily resolve the moment, solve the problem, but just accept that this happened and now I'm moving forward.
Right.
I think that was the problem, was my brain, and I still fight against this, was always set that the mindfulness training or experience was a way to solve the problem, or that there was some sort of goal at the end of whatever exercise I was in, as opposed to there really isn't a way to fail at it. You just need to keep doing it and keep moving forward. That's the way you're successful in it.
Here's what's interesting, though,
journey,
from my
yeah.
side of it is,
Sure.
I do tend to be aware of these thoughts in the present, and I have a certain, I think, emotional engagement problem, because to use your example, okay, here I am with friends and family in this moment, and I should be reveling in this moment. And then I go and I add, but I'm not. In fact, I don't really care. In fact, I'm kind of bored. In fact, I would really rather be making something. And in fact, I really am selfish and wish I could have the best of both worlds, where I can sit here and make something and be surrounded by these people and engage when I want to. And otherwise, like, I like hanging out with people, and I like being with people, but I don't, maybe I'm some kind of weird contrarian. I don't really know, but I don't always like doing what we're doing, because it doesn't interest me. Like, and if I'm being honest with myself, it just doesn't interest me.
But I also think, too, is I've observed, and I'm this way, too, is you don't like things to disrupt what you've already, like, created. And when you add outside influences, then it's, you get different stimulus that maybe you don't want to deal with. And because we like our alone time, we like to be able to control everything. And we're both control freaks. I don't mean that in a bad way, but we like to be master and commander and chief of our own universe.
We like to feel like we have choice.
Yes, but sometimes when you add family or other obligations, you feel like you lose that. But the flip side is our family will only be around for so long. And while sometimes hanging out with them can be boring, yes, it's still precious, because at the end of the day, I would rather have a few boring moments just being than like, oh, I spent this whole time creating something and not really being in the present with the people
I agree
love.
with you, but here's the problem. I go there. I think that. I see that's the step after the step I just mentioned is I go, okay, yeah, but I'm not, and I'm bored, and I'm this, that, and I'd rather be doing something else. And then the next step past that from my mind is that's a terrible thing to think. These people are going to die one day. I mean, that's just where I go. I immediately go to that spot. And then I go, and then all I feel is bad. And then I'm
Right.
still not able to engage in the moment and be happy and enjoy my time with these people because all I feel is bad
Right.
about not being able to be there. And I feel even worse about not wanting to be there. And at some point, I don't know when this started happening when my brain just got into this kind of cycle, but like I remember I used to be able to be engaged and in the moment, and it was when I was a kid, and but I had a really chaotic existence as a kid. I mean, Adam, I imagine you can relate a little bit. You know, we had a chaotic environment, and so maybe that's where my desire to kind of control things came from. But the thing that I learned this week, especially when I did the full 30-minute session, is that my problem is very often that I feel not nothing, but I feel very, very little with huge spikes of feeling a lot for a brief amount of time. And then back to this weird, I think, fucked up kind of neutral that I'm trying to get out of.
Sure.
Right.
Two things in what you were saying. One, it feels like you're talking about a sense of guilt when you are in whatever the experience is, and you know, if you're bored when you're surrounded by family and friends and wish you could be somewhere else, then it feels like there's a sense of guilt that comes with that. Like you're not feeling the right thing for what the moment is supposed to be.
Right. And I don't even wish I could be somewhere else. I just wish I could also be creating something while I'm with family and friends because I want to be with them. I just also want to.
Sure. Well, and that's another aspect of the mindfulness training, engaging in whatever the present experience is without a sort of judgmental mind view, right? If whatever is going on around you pisses you off, then let it piss you off, you know?
Teach me, Obi-Wan. Teach me.
Right. You know, and here's the thing. I understand all these concepts on a very rational level, but we all know emotional responses are not predictable or controllable in any way. So yeah, so you know, if something pisses you off, then be pissed off. You know, if the idea is, I think that we're a polite society, we're a civil society, we've got all these rules that kind of govern the way we're supposed to interact. We are bombarded with messages from our media about how we are supposed to feel or approach certain situations. And so it creates a ton of guilt, I think, that everybody is constantly carrying with them, that, you know, either we're not satisfied with the experience that's happening right now, or there's something we feel like we've committed to this experience out of some sort of loyalty because it's the thing we're supposed to do. You know, I'll say as a offering up something personal from my life, you know, in the midst of all my depression, I made the decision at one point to just stop communicating with my family. Right. And Jeff knows this, and I don't know if Sarah knows this, but, you know, I didn't speak to my brother for 5 years. And for my mother, I think it was like maybe 3.5 or 4. I started to talk to her on the phone as I was coming out of this, you know, moment of shunning. You know, any other reasonable person would have gone, you're not talking to your reasonable. Any other person, I won't say reasonable, but any other person on the planet, the majority response would probably be, you didn't talk to your family? That's like, you know, there's prejudgments that go along with what type of person would do that sort of thing, right? But the truth is, I needed that time because I recognized that anytime I was around my family, I left that situation feeling anxious, pissed off. You know, the interactions we were having were not healthy in any way, and so I just had to make the decision to cut the cord for a while. And so, but then, you know, I start to make some, I guess, progress in the way I approach the world and experiences, and I also found out, my brother and I talked this week, he just started listening to the show, so he's going to hear this.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah. you know, I my mother is at the age now that she's not going to change in any way. And so nothing that I can say, no conversation I'm going to have is going to change anything from her side of the conversation. So to be engaged with her, I have to accept that there's going to be moments where she says things that are deeply offensive to me and possibly every other person in a room filled with people. And so I have to change the way I approach that relationship and what that experience is, as opposed to walking in with this sort of pre-written script in my head, or what I'd like it to be, or the judgment of what I want that relationship to be. I don't know. I guess part of mindfulness training is learning to give up a certain amount of control. Maybe.
Well,
I think
want to
so.
piggyback off what you
Yeah.
said because you know the thing about the guilt and it's interesting that you feel guilty, Jeff, because you always tell me I have a lot of emotional outbursts, and it used to be worse when Jeff and I first dated because that's when I was really dealing with my PTSD. And I told him, I was like, I'm going to have a lot of moments where I'm going to be really emotional and like just go on the roller coaster ride with me. And so and it's gotten a lot better, but every now and again when I get overwhelmed, I equate that feeling of anxiousness and that whole hyperactivity, that emotional response takes me back to when I was in that bad situation. You know what I mean? Even though it's a separate emotional instance, I'm stressed out about the holidays and work, that anxiety transports me back to the time when I was anxious all the time. And sometimes I get really emotional. And I think it's funny what you say about being a polite society, but there's something about when you're going through, not therapy, but when you're working through emotion, I think it's okay to have emotional outbursts, because I think it's like if you keep holding it in, that's when, you know what I mean, you compress and then it goes inward. And if you just let it out and you give zero fucks about who cares, you know what I mean, like what people think, then you're helping yourself. And I always feel awful after I have an emotional outburst. And Jeff always tells me, you haven't done anything wrong, you're just expressing yourself. And I always find it interesting that you have different quiet, like, I mean, you have quiet emotional outbursts. You know what I mean? And then you have the same response, and I always want to, you know, say what you say, but I'm not as eloquent in the moment because I'm the loud one and you're the softer one.
I don't know,
in
but
our
well,
dynamic.
I don't know. There's also kind of a different issue because, like, you know, I did improv for so long, and performing it particularly more than teaching it, but so I that holds so much appeal to me because improv is the only time that I feel 100% connected with who I was as a kid and 100% connected to what is happening right now, because that's all there is. But also the level of stimulus in improv is so much higher because even if there's a small audience or no audience, there's something that you're crafting. There's this performance that's kind of emerging. It's just a higher, I mean, it's a higher level of stimulus than regular life in a way. And so I'm frustrated because I can be fully in it there when it's good. Like when it's shit, it's because I know, you know, I'm thinking too far ahead, right? So it's frustrating because I feel that, and I can kind of like, I know it's within grasp. I just don't understand why I can't apply it in my life. And also, again, I just feel like it's something that I don't talk about very, very often, I guess, except maybe here, is because there's nothing polite about it. Like there's no way to tell people that you feel disinterested and disconnected and understimulated in the moment without it causing personal offense to the other people. Because the truth is, if I didn't have my friends and if I didn't have my family, I would be devastated. I would never, you know, I never want, you know, you guys to go away or not be a part of my life. But there's also this part of me that feels like I'm asking for this other level of understanding from human beings that I don't know that I'll ever get. Of, not that it's some kind of excuse, but there's just this part of me that's just like, yeah, but if I had my druthers, I would want to be with you and creating something.
But why can't you do both?
Because it's highly offensive to people. Because I can't sit in a room and it'll be like, oh, why aren't you watching the show with us? Or, oh, he's not really interested in the game. He's playing this. He's writing something. Or
But I think you're.
You know what I mean?
I think you are. Yes, but I also think you're assuming, and you always tell me.
no, it's
assuming.
experience. It's what's happened to me.
But you can be the change. Like you can just say, I want to spend time with you, but I also want to do this, and then it's like, okay.
Well, you and I had that conversation recently.
I know, but I've never like when you're with the family and you're drawing, I've never been like, okay, like angry about it. It's more like checking in, because sometimes you go so deep within yourself that sometimes, you don't always hear. You know what I mean? And I think that's what concerns me. But I always enjoy your presence, even if you're not watching the movie and you're drawing. I think that's fine. Like, you can have the best of both. You can say, I want to be in the room with you, but I also have to do this. And more often than not, the people who love you and accept you for who you are will be like, okay.
Right,
That's
and then
just
everyone else,
my
you're just that weirdo at the bar drawing on a cocktail
But
napkin.
who cares about
Which again, if I had my
what everyone
druthers,
else
that's
thinks?
like when we go out, I would rather sit there and draw on the cocktail napkin.
But then do that, because who cares what other people think? Like, are you living
Apparently
your life
I
for them,
do.
or
I
are you
guess
living
I do.
your life? Like,
Yeah.
But no, I get that. I get that response from Jeff. I see that because I feel like, I don't know. I many times I feel when I'm out in social situations or just out in public in general, walking to work, whatever, that I feel like no one else thinks the thoughts that I think.
Mm-hmm.
No one else feels
Right.
the things that I feel, and which again, on a rational level, I can say probably isn't true, but that's not the way emotion works, right?
Right.
And so yeah, it just feels like it's been a long time since I have had anyone in my life where you can just be around them for long periods of time and it doesn't matter what you're doing, right? It doesn't
Right,
feel
like
you have
Aaron's
to
good
be
about
doing
that.
something,
Aaron, you
like
can just
Sarah
hang out with
said.
Aaron
It just
and,
means
you know.
something that you're just in the room and can just be there together, yeah? So
Yeah. There's a great song by a guy. I don't know if you could hear me earlier, but I said I think Aaron Gottlieb is a good example. He can just hang out and he doesn't care what you do, whatever. He's like, I'm just going to be here, which I think is really that's a strength. Like I wish I could do that.
We
I'm
all
trying to
we
get
all
there.
do.
But there's a great song by a guy named Dan Reeder, and I think I'll try and put a clip in here. I also want to put some clips in the audio version. If you don't know, we do this video show, and then after it goes live, I try to cut the video together. But we also do an audio version of it that you can subscribe to in iTunes. And the audio version has a bunch of stuff before we go live, and sometimes some stuff after, and some stuff that I didn't have time to put in the video. Including, I think I'm going to put some clips from the meditation practices in here, but also I probably will try to put a clip from this Dan Reeder song, because the lyrics go like this. I don't feel comfortable in your comfortable car. I don't feel quiet in a quiet bar. And I don't really want to talk to you, but my business requires that I do. I thought that was pretty good. I would like to, since the challenge was to do this meditation practice, I would like to talk about what actually happened, if nobody minds,
Yeah.
when I
Go
actually
for it,
did the
yeah.
full 30 minutes, because I only did it once. And my procrastinating self, it was last night. And it was actually in the bath because I have a lot of back pain, which is one of the things I've known for a while. And so, like every other day these days, it's sort of become a habit. I take a bath, and I realize that that's sort of become meditative in a way, because it's where I'll go and I'll listen to certain shows or whatever. But it's sort of like where I clean house mentally, and I just sort of process, and whatever's in my brain is whatever's in my brain. So it's partially about the back pain, and partially I think just about mind sweeping, which is different than mind sweeping.
Yeah.
Ching ching ching.
oh, old school.
Oh yeah. Anyway, so I was doing the 30-minute one, and I was really relieved when the guy said that your mind was allowed to wander, because G's mind was already like all over the place. And he started to do the thing where he would talk about like you breathing. It felt like a theater exercise. You're breathing into your toes, and you're aware of your toes. And that's when I checked out, and I started looking at the candles that were around, and I got so bored I lit my hair on fire intentionally. Just one strand.
didn't tell me that.
Yeah, well, I was going to save that for today. Just one strand of my hair because I was really bored, and I noticed as soon as I started to light my hair on fire, I got really sad about it. I was like, "Oh no, I'm being self-destructive. That's terrible." So I stopped. It was a really long hair, so I was sort of suddenly aware of like my life and how long my hair was, and I'd be thinking about all of that time and how much I just burned away, and like I had that crazy complicated thought. So I checked in again about the time he starts talking about the groin and the pelvis, and I was like, "Oh, okay, you have my attention. What's going on in there? Breathe, you breathe." And then he moves into like your breathing. He said something about we're probably in the stomach or chest at this part. At that point, somewhere I think in my stomach or something, I got intensely like sorrowful, like mournful, but it was for 1 second. Like you could have clocked it. It was just this like, bored, nothing, sadness, despair. Bored, nothing. And it's not like I tried to correct it. It's not like I tried to catch it. I was just like, la 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 la. Smells like burnt hair in here. I noticed when he's talking about breathing into like your chest, like I felt nervous because sometimes I'm concerned about my heart. And then when he said like you're breathing into your face and he talked about your teeth, I felt self-conscious because I have a fake tooth. And then I was like, when is that gonna break? And I'm gonna have to get it replaced. And that made me anxious. And then I got kind of like, I don't know. But at that point I'd been there, almost the whole half hour, and I wasn't bored anymore, but I was angry, kind of. Yeah, I was kind of angry because I was like, this is not what I want because first off, I feel like I've done this a million times in theater, and second, not to put too fine a point on all the stuff we just talked about, but like I said, I feel like this guy wants me to check out or to detach. Oh, yes. I felt like he wanted me to detach, and there was one specific section why. He said, listen to the sound and just notice the sound as it comes in and out of, as it something clinical sounding, as it vibrates on your ears or whatever. Kind of like how people say, you notice the thoughts, kind of like fish in a pond, and you don't catch the fish. You just notice that they come and they go. And I said, well, that's my whole problem. I am already too detached. And on the one hand, it keeps me calm more often than not, but I was like, that's my whole problem, dude. Like, I don't want to do that. Like, I don't want to notice the physical sensation of the sound going in and out of my ears because that's taking me away from the present. What I want is to be alive and engaged and have that sensation that you have no idea how much time has just gone by. Like, you have no idea because you're just so in it, and you have no self-consciousness about how you look and what you're doing, and that sort of magical thing that happens in your brain where you enter this flex time of just, you come out the other side of the hole and you're like, oh, all that I think something fun just happened, and then later you remember it. And so I was thinking about it. I said, well, what would work? What would be better? And I thought about, I looked some active meditation stuff up, and then I came across walking meditation, which I know Ben has done in the past. And then I realized the more I read about it, I was like, oh, I think this is something I used to do when I was younger. I didn't have a name for it. And there was nothing formal about it, but I would spend, again, I was basically an only child, and I would spend just hours in the backyard by myself, even though my friend was just right next door, walking around and daydreaming and working out stories. And, this was elementary school all the way through high school. By the time I started college, I was mostly walking around the backyard trying to learn lines. But at some point, I had to transition out of being able to do that because I live either in an apartment or with people or something where, hey, Jeff's going to go walk around and imagine things in the backyard for a few hours, where that just might raise some eyebrows. And I stopped doing it. And I found other places to go and other ways to cope. But I realized that maybe I missed that, or maybe some sort of more active kind of activity would put me into a meditative state where I'm doing something that I'm not thinking about, and then everything else gets to sort of float to the top. I don't know. That's it. That's all I got.
Okay. Well, I would say, based on what you just said about if the walking meditation is something that you did as a kid, and the only reason it sounds like you went away from it was you had these sort of judgments and preconceptions about what it might look like to other people that might be watching it. That's kind of why you moved away from it and did other things.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah. So why not just say fuck those those prejudgments and just go walk around and just do that?
Fuck the
Word.
police.
Yeah. Just go walking. Go walking.
Go walking,
man.
Peter. Peter, come down.
After midnight, you know.
I should also say that we are not doctors, and other disclaimers.
Yeah. Although I am ordained.
That's right. Adam is an ordained minister.
Church of Universal Light, I think, is what my certificate says that I downloaded. Yeah.
Oh.
Internet.
Listener Robot Muscles 6400 sent us a quote in the chat room. One awesome thing about Eeyore is that even though he is basically clinically depressed, he still gets invited to participate in adventures and shenanigans with all of his friends. And they never expect him to pretend to feel happy, and they just love him anyway, and they never leave him behind or ask him to change. We've seen that one floating around the Facebook before, I think.
Well, that's cool.
And that is always a good one.
I like that because sometimes I feel like an Eeyore a lot when I respond to text sometimes or emails. Like after I send my response and then they respond back, I'm like, oh yeah, I guess what I said could be taken in a really negative, depressed light.
Sure.
Because again, I feel that specifically with all of my text interactions with Ron Anderson. Like specifically, he will contact me out of the blue and like, hey, how's it going? And I'll respond, and then without fail, his response is always something to the effect of, oh, that's too bad. Like, and then I think, oh God, like he must just think that I'm just this Eeyore character with this cloud walking around. Like, so I always specifically walk away feeling kind of bummed after Ron texts me.
But the thing is, with Ron loves you for exactly who you are.
Right.
Because you
Right.
are the best you. There's no other you
Yeah.
other than you.
Well, maybe that's my journey then, is kind of learning to let go of that part, because my fear is that, like, if I'm honest about things, people will go, well, I don't understand. Don't you like me? And my response is just, no, I love you. This is just my brand of fucked up. Like, I love you, but I still, you know what I mean? Anyway,
Yeah.
I think we should put a button on this, but and we should move on because Adam, unless we have anything else we want to say about this, but Adam, I know we have a challenge for Sarah, and
Yeah.
I'd like to get to it. I need to wear something silly.
Okay. Please put on something silly. So I guess here's the challenge. Did you make that?
Sarah
Yeah.
made
I
this.
did.
This
Yeah,
is an
that's
Ice
the
King crown.
Ice King, yeah. I was.
Ice. Made of ice.
I made it out of old drink boxes. Like we had a party, and so old soda boxes and
Gunter.
construction paper.
I
Because when
made
you're
it out of
crafty,
rage.
You always have crafty things nearby.
Sarah, for a minute, I thought the reindeer hat you were wearing, it looked like your face. Like if you point your head down the right way. Say something so we can see you.
Merry Christmas.
Do you have antlers back there? Like
I do. See here.
Okay.
Here, I'll put 'em
There we
here.
go. Because you looked a little like a drunk bear, I guess, without the antlers.
No, it's just they don't
shine-
stay up. But here,
Yeah.
I'll just do the rest of the show like this, and it'll be fun for our viewers. I'll just make sure that I move my head so it looks like I'm talking.
All right, Adam. What's the reindeer challenge?
Okay, so the reindeer challenge is for you, Sarah, and it's really for us. It's for you and I.
Ooh.
So here's the thing: there was a question brought up. I was having a conversation with someone a while ago, and it was the idea of a lot of times when you've got friends that start dating people, the people that they date fold into your circle, right? Mm-hmm. And so then there's always this question of, well, would I be friends with this person, or would I be would there be any like reason for us to be friends outside of this person that connects us?
Oh.
And so the question is, or the challenge is, for us to engage in conversation, and I'll say like it. To put a minimum on it, we'll say 15 minutes a day, every day for the next week, which is going to be maybe a little extra challenging because this is also folding in like New Year's Eve and Christmas Day.
The two of you.
Right, just the
specifically.
two of us, not
Oh,
Jeff. And
neat.
it can be hangout style. It could be on the phone. It can be whatever. And specifically, I was thinking there's a battery of like questions that I've used before with devising groups that I've been a part of, and the questions start off very superficial, like what superhero would you be if you had a power, blah blah blah, and then they start to peel back and get a little deeper or serious. And I don't think necessarily every session has to have that sort of arc to it.
Right.
Maybe it starts off casual, 15 minutes of conversation the first couple of days, and then maybe naturally, I don't know. Maybe
No, I've already started an Omni outliner document for you both.
Okay.
Section 1,
Can
triangle
we have
1
a Trello board?
is
I like visuals.
don't mess with me. Don't mess with me.
Don't mess with the king, baby.
You can have all the Trello boards and they'll be made of ice.
Yeah, that's a good voice. Well done. But yeah, so that's the challenge. A minimum of like
that's fun.
15 minutes of engagement each day. If the conversation goes a little bit longer, if we'll probably have to maybe as soon as we're done with this live cast to figure out maybe like a tentative schedule so that we can figure out when to connect. But
Right.
that is our challenge for the next week, to engage each other in conversation without Jeff being present or part of that conversation. I guess
Right.
we can talk about Jeff, but he just can't be. Yeah.
What
yes.
else is there to talk about?
Right.
But that's
Ladies
our
and gentlemen.
challenge.
Did you just fall?
Well, Sarah,
No.
Adam's
I gotta-
current challenge is gravity.
Ow. No, I got to tell you what happened. This has been happening more and more. I get these spasms in my calf if I sit in a weird position, and it feel like I was on the phone with my brother a couple of months ago, and I got the most intense pain. It felt like my bone was going to break in half. The muscle tightened up so tight. It made this like weird contorted shape. And for 5 minutes, I was in excruciating pain and tried to walk around the room. So my body is
You
trying
get
to
enough
kill me.
potassium?
Yeah, that's what I specifically started eating bananas because of that.
But it's also iron too. It can be potassium and iron deficiency.
Well, it may be iron because I don't eat a lot of meat. So, well.
You can take a supplement because I take one and
Can
it
I just
helps.
can I
So.
just lick playground equipment or something?
Sure,
like old
why not?
playgrounds. Yeah.
It works for kids because at clown school, people would get those because we would be working so hard and it would
Yeah.
Well, Sarah, are you up for the challenge?
I am. I think it'll be real fun.
Yeah, I think so
beans.
too. Speaking of this week and next week, happy holidays to everyone, of course. Our next
Happy
show will be on the
Yeah.
27th. It will be our final show for the season and our final show for the year, and I guess kind of a non-New Year's special. And
But we will have a New Year's special.
well, kind of, yeah. I was going to say we've got something in the works since Aaron is back from Italy, and Adam. We're all four of us are going to be together for New Year's, and Scott's been invited. I don't know if he's going to be able to make it or not, but I thought we would get everyone around the mics, and we would do the inaugural episode of The Assembler, which is just a show where we get everybody together from different shows or different whatevers, and we talk about something. Maybe we'll have Scott says he'll be there. Excellent. Maybe we'll have I don't know, like challenge articles or something.
Can we?
I was like, sharticles.
For Scott,
Ooh.
can we do like they did with Wilson in Home Improvement? Can we just put Scott's face behind a computer screen the whole time and just hear typing, so he can remain mystical as the mystical question giver?
Or he has a different set of mustaches that he just keeps changing out.
Right.
Like
I think there's a bit there. So.
I think so too.
Yeah.
If you have ideas, you can tweet us at U4C.
That's right. Speaking of, I ran into Becca Jeffords. We're kind of wrapping up the show now, but I ran into Becca Jeffords, and she said, I don't know if she was talking about this show or not, but she said that she's been listening to the podcast. Now, I know that Up for a Challenge shares the same feed as Art Technique, so anyone that was subscribing to Art Technique is also getting the new episodes of Up for a Challenge. It's sort of just become the default assembler feed. So I don't know if she's heard the new ones or not, and I meant to ask her, but she says she likes it because she feels like she's, hanging out with people. Scott says maybe he can wear different masks that certain people have. Rogue masks.
Oh yeah. Toads.
All right. Well, we should officially stop the broadcast and say goodbye, Internet. Don't you think?
Yes.
Move to
Oh,
sign
yeah.
offs?
Yeah. It's
Okay.
time.
All right. I'm Jeff, And presently, I am aware of wearing a crown and sunglasses. Sunglasses.
I'm Sarah Lynn, and I finished my scarf.
During the show?
Oh,
You finished
thanks.
it during
Yeah,
the
I
show?
did. I started and finished it during the show.
See, you hung out with your
Happy
friends
show.
and you created something. See how good
See?
that feels?
All right, and my name is Adam, and Jeff, don't go changing to try and please me. You never let me down before. I'll take the good times. I'll take the bad times. I'll take you just the way you are. Good night.
Good night. Sunny Broadcast.